to another edition of Strength Through Stress, brought to you by Top Virtual Staffing Solutions. Let's continue to grow, learn, and innovate. We would appreciate that you guys follow us on our social media accounts. And if you have any questions, feel free to reach out with us based on the information out there. Okay, so we are on our 24th session. Can you believe that, Miko?
No. Time flies fast.
Time flies fast, but we'll take it one session at a time, 1 week at a time, and hopefully, again, this is helpful for you or for our viewers out there. Just like before, we will discuss journaling, willpower, and growth mindset, and we will continue with a cognitive restructuring. And as always, we want you guys to focus on the session 6 that we have in relation to critical thinking, scientific thinking, and metacognition. Again, this is just for informational purposes only. If any screen, feel free to go ahead and reach out to 911 or your medical professional. So why we're providing this free? Because we want you guys to donate to worthwhile causes. And for today's session, we want to highlight Meals on Wheels. So please check their website out. And as we provide support to all of these nonprofit organizations, if you want to help us out equally, feel free to check our GoFundMe page. And we also want to share that we have virtual town hall sessions. And here we are with relationship marketing for non-marketers to discuss such things. Miko, do you have any questions?
Nope.
Good. All right. Right. So let's review the previous session. So we discussed about extreme thinking of being way too optimistic when things are what they are, or being too pessimistic that it's not that bad. And again, watch what we tell ourselves. So these are the things that we discussed last time, right?
Yep.
Okay. All right, good. Maybe in the future, you're the one who's supposed to be reviewing it. Okay?
Sure.
All right, that's good. So instead of me talking again, I'd rather hear from you. All right. So this is what we discussed in our last session regarding Journal 25. So how do you minimize the extremes of our thought processes, or how do you self-talk to your advantage?
Oh, I self-talk well, I can minimize my extremes by, that technically means overgeneralization.
Mm-hmm.
So I need to open up my mind to let in all the good stuff, so I don't think of that first. But if that doesn't work, second, I can just think of the reality, the percentage of that, whatever that thing is happening.
The probability of something bad from happening, you said?
Yes.
Okay. Awesome. And you know what? With what you just shared, it's related to our subject matter. So the important thing here is you are already employing ways to manage or work with stressors, or how to not only work with stressors, but how to continue to get better. So that's wonderful. All right. So let's move on to our willpower subject matter last time. How do you label yourself when you are faced with a willpower challenge? And after a good behavior of willpower challenge, do you do something bad after as a reward? So is there anything here that you want to relate with your life?
I label myself when I accomplish a willpower challenge. I think of myself as well. This is all the time. I don't think good job, Miko, you did it, or anything like that. I think of what I did, and of course there's going to be a next step. So I think of the next step before I celebrate, and then I think of, well, not all the time, but most of the time, I think of what I've done to make that challenge for me, that I made that I accomplished that challenge, what I did to accomplish the challenge, and I would think that I can use that skill or method to help me on my next level, whatever.
Everything that you said, it's magnificent. And one thing that I wasn't even thinking about that you raised, which is very critical, because as we go through life, it's not stagnant. Sure, we succeed on something, but there will always be challenges as we proceed through life and as we continue to get better. It's amazing how you are thinking that way, and hopefully you continue to go ahead and do that. Okay, sure, it's good to celebrate right now, but at the same time, well, what's next? What do I need to do next? That's great. That's great thinking right there. And maybe the Green Lantern ring will find you as you continue to strengthen your willpower. So
I don't know.
that's wonderful. All right, good. Okay, let's move on to the growth mindset here. And we're talking about labels. That's what it is. We have to be careful of labels, and I'm appreciative that you focus more on what you actually did to be successful instead of just saying, I'm good. So, but in essence, do you have any labels of praise or negative statements that you apply to yourself or the people around you? Do you do this often? Is there anything that you could respond to here?
I don't.
Because you don't label.
I don't label first.
Good. As we
Well,
go through, yeah, go ahead.
I do label, but it's labels.
Yes, but
Writing down labels.
okay, gotcha. Well, that's different. Okay, as we go through our conversation later, if I forget to connect our conversation in relation to labeling, when we discuss stereotypes, just remind me later, okay? So I just want to go back to this topic.
Okay, I'll put that in the chat.
Ah, sweet, cool. All right, so with what we have discussed in relation to extremes and labeling, is there any critical thinking component here that you want to discuss a little bit further?
Okay, so I have a perseverance / courage. It's also slash there. It's courage and perseverance. So I now have the perseverance to try and think of a code that's not too long but can have a really big effect. Like the DNA thing, the DNA project that I tried showing you, but you went away. That thing, that's not many blocks of code. And it just looks, for some reason, so satisfying. And with courage, I want to do it. I really want to do it. I really want to share these projects that I can make out of just one simple costume and then 2 simple lines of code.
Good.
And
Go ahead.
it relates to the last session because it kind of relieves me of stress of looking at these satisfying things, and I feel better if I'm in a downtime or something, and if I just want to do Scratch and then I open up my code, drag it in, make some weird kind of art, and then do it. And then I look at this satisfying thing, and then my growth mindset is like is telling me that I shouldn't feel down. I should feel better. So.
And you do.
Yes.
Okay. First, something I want to clarify is that the reason I walked away or I didn't want to look, because again, our agreement is what?
Oh, to finish my what was the word again? Responsibilities first.
Yes. So again, I'm happy you're working with these Scratch. You are motivated and learning such things. That's great. But we have to go ahead and balance things out wherein you continue to take care of other responsibilities first, and then I will indulge you with that. And that's what it is in terms of going back to critical thinking. If I can go ahead and relate that specific behavior of mine, let's see here, if I could relate that to fair-mindedness, in terms of I can't just allow you to do Scratch through and through and that's it, because as you know, life isn't just like that, right? Go ahead.
I was gonna say, the other reason why I do those 2 simple blocks of code, scripts of code, is because it's so short. It's so short, so I don't have to waste all my time trying to fix a bug or something. I already know the code, I can do it, and then...
Because it's repetitive.
Yes, and then I get...
Oops. And then what, sorry?
It's almost like a double positive thing. Because I feel satisfied, I am satisfied, and it doesn't take so much time that I have to do it in another time or day. So.
And just like what you shared, you don't stop there. You go ahead and think of what's next. Sure, you enjoy the satisfaction of completing a project successfully, but for your courage and perseverance to continue to proceed, you go ahead and identify what's next. And I know you continue to evolve and develop the projects that you have, right?
Yep.
Okay,
yes.
Wonderful, great, good stuff. Let's move on to the next one in terms of higher order of thinking and scientific thinking. So is there anything that you want to think a little bit more about?
I want to I want to evaluate the scientific method. Well, yeah. I want to kind of evaluate the scientific method into asking a question, which my question obviously is to how I can be relieved and stress besides all the other ways that I already know, and then making up hypotheses, which I do. If it doesn't work, then I try and fix it or do something else or improve from it or learn from it and try building off it. But if it succeeds, I just kind of put that in my list. And I'm not sure, but I think this is similar to what I said last time. So I put that in my mental list. And then if I don't have access to the computer or I don't have access to books or whatever, I do that thing. And if it's productive, then I might as well just do it for a long time.
What do you mean do it for a long time? Do what for a long time?
If it's productive, as in gardening or that productive, that quote unquote productive thing.
So if it's productive, that you don't mind spending your time and energy on it, is that what you're saying?
Yes.
Okay.
And also it's worth my time and energy.
And that's what you are evaluating. Where are you spending your time and energy on?
Yes.
Beneficial, if it's productive, as you've said, if it's helpful and it makes you grow. Did I get you correctly? Did I understand you correctly?
Yes. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, yes.
Super. And with that, I want to highlight one more thing that you shared with the scientific thought process, is that indeed it's a continuous evaluation of what works and what doesn't work. And this thought process right here is something that we will expand a little bit further later. So you're you're ahead of the game here, which is amazing. So, all right, okay, cool. Anything else?
Well, technically that covered two statements.
Yep.
What problem can you identify and develop a hypothesis to test?
Okay.
And the first one, what do you want to create, evaluate / analyze or apply?
Are you just telling me, or?
I'm just telling you.
Okay, gotcha. All right, so let's move on to our subject matter for today's session.
Yep.
All right, let's roll with this. Okay, coping strategies of awfulizing. Wherein it's not only a matter of perceiving things as always super bad or absolutely terrible. Sometimes we're even hoping that the worst situation is going to take place. So with awfulizing is that it's not only perceiving it really bad when in reality maybe it's not, but in your head it's that bad. And to make things worse, you're actually wishing that the worst situation will go ahead and take place. And this is where we have to go ahead and be careful, because I know in the previous sessions I have shared is that one of my philosophies in life is to prepare for the worst and hope for the best. And that's the important phrase right there, of hoping for the best. But obviously we just can't hope and that's it. We have to take action on things in order for our hope to materialize.
And, sorry.
What?
And it's one of those stories where some god, some person, some wise person, I don't know, tells a farmer or whatever, farmer, business person, whatever. I think these are one of fables I've read in the Tagalog books that you gave me.
Okay.
I'm not entirely sure, but
Okay.
it's.
So what's the story?
There's this man who he was pretty poor, but he had enough money to live and stuff. So, and then he saw this god. And I think he was a farmer, not the god. And then the god told him that he would eventually get a rainfall of gold, or at least get a lot of gold, or money, or crops, or luck, whatever. I don't really remember. And then
A lot of riches, basically.
yes,
Okay.
and then he just didn't do anything after that, because he didn't do anything because he thought that he was still going to get those riches. But of course, like you said, you still have to work for it, and he never got it. And then his crops died, and I don't know the rest of the story, but yeah.
The bottom line is we hope that the positive things would take place. I mean, sure, some level of divine intervention wouldn't hurt, but with the reality that we work with, it's not always divine intervention. We need to act on things in order to put things into motion to get the results, right? And what's amazing with what you just shared is that, okay, something that you have read, you applied it to whatever we're discussing right now, and these are critical components for you to continuously improve your mental processes, the way you process information, and finding ways how things work and improve and get better. So that's amazing. Thank you. I'm not going to awfulize on about you and your
Yeah, you're right.
Okay, let's go move on here. Reframing. That's been pretty much what we've been discussing, how we modify things. Again, we have to be careful. So, for example, unfortunately, we know a lot of close people that we are with, and they've lost loved ones. So there's no other way to modify the loss. The person has passed away. You can't change that. But given the circumstances, how can we make things neutral, or how can we look at the positive? When I say positive, is that go ahead and identify and celebrate the person's life. Celebrate how they have impacted you and how they have instilled in you whatever that is important to you, and that they continue to live through you, with you. So again, there's no other way. There's nothing that you can say to make a loss not a loss when somebody passes away. It is what it is. But at the same time, hopefully we're just not stuck in that realm and look at the other things, just like what you mentioned earlier, opening your mind for all of the other aspects that involve this. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay. All right. So, yeah, go ahead.
I just wanted to say, live through you, and also possibly teach it, so they're living through whoever you taught.
And that's how you leave a legacy. That's a legacy that you are going to leave. So again, I'm not I've been very explicit here. One of the reasons why I'm doing this is that hopefully whatever we're doing here is meaningful. And if you plan to have kids in the future, or whoever loved ones that you will be with, that whatever we're learning here is something that you can share with them. So, and it's not about me, but it's about how you can continue to be better. So with these perspectives. Thank you for that.
Yep.
All right, cool. So let's move on. Acceptance. The phrase "it is what it is" sometimes can be heartless if you say it with whatever the situation or whatever the person is going through. But at the same time, there is truth in it that we can't deny. And I know, again, the reason why we have brought this strength through stress is because of this COVID-19 situation. What am I going to go ahead and do? We're locked down here, so let's go ahead and do something productive. So I am accepting that there is this reality of COVID-19. But the important phrase here is find ways to move on. So what can we continuously do in order to move on? Because we can't change the outcome right now of COVID-19 except for the scientists who are looking for a vaccine and ways to keep us safe as possible. Sure, but that COVID-19 reality is here. And again, how do we find ways to proceed with this reality? So that's acceptance. All right. And in relation to acceptance is the Serenity Prayer. Can you please read, would you be able to read this?
Okay. I can.
Okay, please read it
Oh.
out loud.
Oh, okay. God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. Living one day at a time, enjoying one moment at a time, accepting hardship as a pathway to peace, taking, as Jesus did, the sinful world as it is, not as I would have it, trusting that you will make all things right if I surrender to your will, so that I may be reasonably happy in this life and supremely happy with you forever in the next. Amen.
Okay. Again, we have to be careful here. We discussed spirituality in the previous sessions, so we're not here to indoctrinate you with a specific faith or religion. That's not the point, but more of what the message is, and not with a specific religious figure. But having read this, how do you understand this specific prayer?
That you have to accept everything. You can't change the things that you can't change, but you can change the things that you can. Pretty much like that.
Yep, those first three lines, or first four lines right there. It's possibly the most important lines of this prayer, at least from my perspective. Especially the line of having the wisdom to know the difference of identifying what we can control or what we don't have control with. And again, going back to this COVID-19 situation, I do not have control of COVID-19. Just like with stressors, just like what we're talking about, you don't manage stressors. You manage the things that you can go ahead and change and modify. That's and to be able to have the wisdom, the sight or vision to differentiate one from the other. That's really, really critical, because if you can differentiate No? Then now you can focus on the change that you can apply. Does that make sense?
Yep.
All right. So, all right, thank you. So let's move on. So now let's initiate the cognitive restructuring. First one is awareness. And I know we have discussed this in one shape or form with the previous sessions, and here we are, we're talking about it. And that is why we've spent the previous sessions talking about different types of stressors out there. So that way you can exactly pinpoint what the stressor is. And after identifying what is the stressor, now you identify why is it a stressor for you. So the what is COVID-19. Why is it a stressor? Because now we are limited with what we can go ahead and do. And if we do get COVID-19, we can get sick and not have good results. And then now you acknowledge the emotions that's involved with this. How am I feeling given this reality? And I think I have mentioned in the previous sessions, I was feeling down because of this. There were certain things that I wanted to happen, it didn't happen, and things got delayed, and so on and so forth. So it's tough. So, but it begins there. You got to identify exactly what's going on and why is it stressing you out. Okay, clear?
Yep.
And then next is you reappraise the situation. You assess and evaluate the situation the second, third, fourth, however many times. And this is where the Serenity Prayer will go ahead and come in, wherein you identify what you control. And the reason why I use this image is because we need to recalibrate how we view the situation. How do we measure it again? Is what we measured the first time around, is it exactly accurate? Or we're a little bit off, and see how we can view things differently. And going back to that Serenity Prayer, what can you control? What can you not control? And let's focus on what can we have an impact on in regards to change. Good?
I am now, yes.
All right, so that's the next stage. You reappraise what the stressor, what's stressing you after you gain awareness. Then now, because you are able to reevaluate it, what changes can you make based on what you can control? So however you perceive things or your attitude towards something, what can you do to change? And the last phrase here is possibly the most difficult one. How do we break habits that's not beneficial for us? And we go back to the sixth session where we talked about what we think, what we say. We do them, and then if we do them over and over, it's a habit. And unfortunately, sometimes we have developed these habits that are not helpful for us. And is it easy to break habits, Miko?
Yes.
Good or bad?
Yes.
Is it easy or difficult?
Well, it's very difficult because I've felt it before, and that's very recent. Not being able to go on Scratch for 6 hours a day because there's schoolwork, so.
So it's challenging to break habits, right? Good or bad?
Yes.
Right?
Good or bad, yes.
Yes. And that's why we have to be careful. So if something that is not good and that's something we can control, let's go ahead and find ways on how we can break such things. And the last stage here is evaluation. Do you think if you have a specific habit and then you try to change it the first time, do you think you will be successful right away?
Well, no.
No.
Well, sometimes, but
Sometimes.
most likely no.
You were talking about probability earlier. Is the probability very strong that you change one thing out of a habit and it's going to get better all of a sudden? It happen right away.
No.
No. And that's why we need to rise from failure. So not because, oh, I ate salad today, I'm going to lose 10 pounds or I will feel healthier right away. It's the first step. And no, you didn't fail right now, but
you didn't fail, but you didn't succeed either.
You didn't succeed yet.
It's a tie.
Yeah, well, sure. But that's the thing. We need to make a good habit of our whatever we're choosing in terms of what we're eating. Because if we eat more crappy food, then we will feel crappy. If we eat healthier food, then it'll make us healthier. So, so failure is going to happen because, again, habits are difficult to change and you're going to fail. And that is why we have the willpower here as part of our discussion. Because do you think willpower is a critical component to break such habits?
Yes, definitely.
Yeah, for us to choose.
If we didn't have willpower, then we wouldn't have Green Lantern. That would be a big hole in my life.
And with willpower, we will discuss later on in this regard with the why. Okay, so we'll discuss that a little bit more. Okay, all right. So review. We talked about the importance of control or being able to identify what we can control or what we don't have control over.
Oh.
Go ahead.
I was just gonna say, when do I have to say labels?
Oh, labels.
Yeah.
Later.
Okay.
Yes, thank you. In the next few slides here.
Okay.
Yeah, all right. So control. What can we control? What do we cannot control? And that's where the Serenity Prayer will go ahead and come in. Acceptance that I think I have learned this from my brother-in-law, that when he said that reality will assert itself. So if there are people that will just wish away that COVID-19 will be gone, but if we're not doing anything about it, if we're not practicing the safety measures that scientists and epidemiologists have identified, you have to accept the fact that you will have a strong chance that you will have COVID-19. And the last one is change. And we go back to the control. What can you change based on whatever control that you have or don't have? So, let's review. All right, good. Okay, let's move on. Journaling. Apply cognitive restructuring to specific thoughts, what was effective and what was not, and the reason for the results. So, for example, for me, sometimes when I am thinking, again, when I'm preparing for the worst, all of a sudden I'm just stuck in that world of the worst case scenario. So I need to go ahead and start doing things. So sometimes I'm a little bit overwhelmed of my doomsday scenario. And then now I don't do anything. So I need to just take it step by step. What's the next step that I can do to get better? What's the next step so we can avoid this doomsday scenario? What's the next step? Okay? And that's something that I have to continue to develop with myself, because again, I end up being overwhelmed of preparing for the worst. Like, oh, there's too many things to do. So I just need to take it one step at a time and eventually get there. So for my own example, that's what I'm working with. And again, it's not effective for me if I just wallow in all of these negativities. And then, oh, I need to do this, I need to do that, and this and that. And then now I'm just overwhelmed. So I just need to go ahead and identify, okay, today I will do X, Y, and Z. And just like what you said earlier, I need to feel fulfilled and accomplished that I was able to do X, Y, and Z. Even if I know I still need to do 1 to 100.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yep.
Okay, all right. Cool. So the next one is boost your willpower with why. You identify why do you want to change whatever it is that you want to change. So what is your why with your willpower challenge? So for me, I can't just be stuck with something. My why is, well, we have to continue to get better as an individual and as a unit, as a family, and to our community. So just going back to this, why am I doing this strength through stress? For selfish reasons, I think it's helping me just to be reminded of what I need to do to get better as myself. For you right now and hopefully in the future for the community, and we're talking about nonprofit organizations here. These are my whys of why we're doing this. And then if we go back to the values of the business of Top Virtual Staffing Solutions, which is to learn, and this is what we're doing. Make sense?
Yep.
All right. Last is growth mindset. Problem with stereotypes and being careful of opinions. And this is
Labels.
a what? Yeah,
Labels.
this is where the labels will go ahead and come in. How do you understand stereotypes? Have you heard of that word? And
I've heard of it so many times and I don't understand it.
okay, how come you've never asked me?
Because you weren't there.
Okay, all right, fine. Can you make a deduction right now, or
Easy?
what? Stereotypes is easy?
I have no idea.
You have no idea. Okay, that's fine. Okay, all right. I'll begin with some examples. A stereotype that females are not good in math, for example, or kids cannot be mature enough to go to a college class just like what we're doing right now.
No.
And so on and so forth. So, or males should not be crying because they're males. So these are some stereotypes that the community or society present. And this is where the labels will go ahead and come in. And this is where that hopefully with our conversations, even outside of our realm here of being recorded and being published to the world, is that hopefully I don't make such stereotypes about a group of people or a group of whatever. And we just take every situation in a case-by-case situation. So, because if I'm going to go ahead and think, oh, Miko is just, he's young, he's not even in middle school yet, he has no mental ability to go through this class, then I'm stereotyping on you, and it doesn't benefit you. You have been very successful with these sessions that we've been doing. You respond to questions, you apply, you use your own personal examples, you relate it to other things that you have learned, whether from school or other books that you have read. So if I'm going to stereotype you, he's a kid, he doesn't have the mental capacity to do this, then it doesn't do us any good, right? So, and for the most part, stereotypes are based on opinions. And if people have opinions, do you think that is factual?
No.
No, because it's an opinion. Right? I like maroon. That's my opinion. Okay, well, that's not a fact. That's not a fact for everyone. Go ahead.
You're wearing a maroon shirt.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I'm saying. If I go ahead and say, I like maroon, and if I'm going to go ahead and say, oh, that's a fact. Well, that's a fact for me, but it's not going to be a fact for everybody else. That's why it's called an opinion. And opinions end up being these stereotypes. But do you understand what stereotypes are?
Now I do, yes.
Okay. that we put these labels. If I learn more about you, and then all of a sudden I have this list of what you are, without giving the other person or the groups of people of exactly what they do. Make sense?
Yep.
All right. Cool. So it's a growth mindset right there. And all right. So we hope to see you guys flying through stress Fridays 5 p.m. and Life and Learner Success 7 p.m. Eastern Time. So we'll see you then. Thank you for joining us here. And we hope to see you, and feel free to share this to everybody else. And again, follow us on social media. And these are the references that we use. All right. Thank you, Miko. And we'll see you in the next few minutes here.
Okay.
Thank you for watching, and I hope you found this video informational and educational. Please share our videos and subscribe to our channel. If not, my dad will not give me dessert.